What is up, guys? What is up? So, big news today. Prince Andrew was arrested and then later released. All of this having to do with the new Epstein files release that has surfaced in our society. The question is, why is Prince Andrew allegedly being held accountable, but nobody in the UK, that is, but nobody in the United States is? That is a tough question. Prince Andrew might do life. He might do life in prison. So, for misconduct. Anyway, let's get into it, shall we? Boom! So, here is the live updated 16 minutes ago. Former Prince Andrew is released after being arrested amid Epstein revelations. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was seen leaving police custody on Thursday evening after being detained on suspicions of misconduct in public office. The police said the investigation was continuing. Here's the latest. The British police on Thursday evening released Andrew, formerly known as Prince Andrew, after taking him into custody for several hours. Intensifying a long-running crisis for the monarchy over his ties to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The detention and questioning of Mr. Mountbatten Windsor, once seen as a dashing war hero and the favorite son of Queen Elizabeth II, the favorite son, was a staggering blow for the monarchy. It was for the first time in modern history that a member of the British royal family has been arrested. Holy shit. We're witnessing history, guys. The last time was in 1649, when Charles I was executed for treason during the English Civil War. Isn't it funny? Back in the 1600s, they used to execute people for treason, and now Donald Trump won't even arrest anybody in office for treason. But let's continue. The authorities said that they had arrested Windsor on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Without providing details, the arrest came amid reports that the former prince had shared confidential information with Mr. Epstein while serving as a British trade envoy. Under British law, suspects are often released after questioning but later charged. The Thames Valley Police, who is carrying out the inquiry, said in a statement on Thursday evening that the arrested man has now been released under investigation. Mr. Mountbatten Windsor has consistently denied wrongdoing. His representatives did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Buckingham Palace has been dodged by scandal for years over separate allegations that the former prince sexually abused a young woman. In an effort to stem the fallout for the monarchy, King Charles III last year stripped his brother of his royal titles and evicted him from the Royal Lodge, his sprawling residence in Windsor. In a remarkable written statement, King Charles confirmed his brother's arrest. A spokesman said that Buckingham Palace had not been informed of the arrest before it took place Thursday morning. The police were seen on Thursday morning at Sandringham Estate, that privately owned 20,000 acre county retreat of King Charles III and Queen Camilla in Norfolk, England, where Mr. Mountbatten Windsor is living. And then it goes on to more details on this. But this is actually big news, guys, because they say, oh, the Epstein files, it's nothing. There's nothing to see here. There's no evidence. Well, if it wasn't for Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ro Khanna, Thomas Massey, Nancy Mace, if it wasn't for these people, I don't think Prince Charles would ever been arrested. He would have still been living comfy the end of his days. I mean, look at this. U.S. Epstein arrest. Yeah. That sounds about right, guys. Oh, and look at this. Here, I'll get a better picture of this. Yeah, man, he looks fucked up. Look at his face. Oh, my God. Yikes. He looks like, oh my God, I'm going to jail. Bro, that's what you get for being a sleazebag. Thomas Massey posted this. Number of arrests. Russia collusion hoax, 0. January 6, 0. Mar-a-Lago raid, 0. Biden auto pen, 0. 2020 election, 0. There's 1, but it's not even in our country. COVID, 0. Benghazi, 0. Doge finding, 0. Ukraine impeachment hoax, 0. Thomas, you're forgetting 1. Somali fraud in Minnesota, 0. This is why our country is a joke. Because why are we letting England do all the arresting? I mean, it's actually insanely pathetic. And then let me just scroll down to what Donald Trump had said about it. Donald Trump had mentioned, you know how Donald Trump is with this shit. Let's hear what he had to say.
It was not a good one, Peter. What do you think?
I got a question about something big overseas today. The former Prince Andrew arrested by the police there, related to something with Jeffrey Epstein. Do you think people in this country at some point, associates of Jeffrey Epstein, will wind up in handcuffs too?
Well, you know, I'm the expert in a way because I've been totally exonerated. That's very nice. I can actually speak.
How many times does this mother effer have to tell us I've been exonerated? No, you haven't, dude. You covered up the files. Your administration covered them up, and then you sucked Pam Bondi's dick on her terrible, terrible testimony, which, by the way, please, guys, go back and watch my Pam Bondi video. It explains everything. It shows that they totally covered it up. She lied. She deflected. Anyway, let's continue.
About it very nicely. I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's a very, very...
Hold on, a shame? I mean, I guess it's a shame, but isn't this a good thing? You're holding these people accountable. That's not a shame. That's a victory. Now, obviously, Trump is in this billionaire circle. I mean, a couple weeks ago, he was like, oh, I like Bill Clinton. He probably likes Prince Andrew, too. They're probably all Trump's homies. Oh, this is my homie here. Bill Clinton, my homie. Bill Gates, my homie. Prince Andrew, my homie. These are my homies, dog. That's what Trump gives off the vibe, that these are all his friends, and if they get caught, it's a shame.
Sad. To me, it's a very sad thing. When I see that, it's a very sad thing. To see it and to see what's going on with his brother, who's obviously coming to our country very soon, and he's a fantastic man, the king. So I think it's a very sad thing. It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they...
That is so not true, dude. People were talking about Epstein. I mean, why does he have to deflect? Why does he always have to make it about him? Isn't it about the girls that were raped? It's really about them and justice for them. It's not just Trump, but Trump's like, I'm exonerated. Nobody was talking about Epstein when he was alive. It's a Democrat hoax. They're just trying to go after me. Take a couple steps back, Trump. I don't think that's the case.
But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated. I did nothing. In fact, the opposite. He was against me. He was fighting me in the election, which I just found out through the last 3 million pages of documents. Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
You said today on Iran, bad things...
All right, Donald. You gave your goofy answer. Are we really surprised? Not really. There is something else I wanted to show you guys. Yeah, some of these... So yesterday, Dan Bongino in his retarded, goofy podcast had a Dumb and Dumber podcast yesterday where he invited Ass Patel to come on, and let's just look at some of these clips here because they're so cringe. Let's look at what they had to say here.
19 people have been convicted for acts of violence related to Antifa. It's in the indictment. You don't got to believe me or you. Everybody can go read the public indictment. And it didn't just happen there. It happened in Cop City in Georgia, where we had to go rearrest everybody because the state authorities couldn't get their act together to produce the enough information to take that to trial. So we did. And it's not a creation or manufacturing of information. It exists. It's just a willingness that you and I and this building's new leadership took to say, we're going to look at the facts that exist. We're not going to try to make up facts that don't so we can serve a political narrative. And wait till you, and I know you know this, but wait till you see what's coming in the next month or two on the funding streams related to this. You and I had launched a serious investigation. We had said these organizations don't operate alone, don't operate in silence. They operate with a heavy, heavy stream of funding. And we started looking into it, and guess what, Dan? We found them.
Okay, so you're going to brag that you put all this effort into getting Antifa, but you put zero effort into going up against these pedophile rapist elites? See, this is the problem about this, right? You have all these MAGA chuds. And I'm sorry, I voted for Trump. I'm mostly conservative, but I got to call out the Republicans here. They're sucking Kash Patel's dick because they're out there saying, "Oh, look at him, my hero. He's going after Antifa, my hero." Okay, yeah, I hate Antifa too, okay? But am I going to sit there and say that if you have pedophile elites over here and you have Antifa over here, right, that the FBI is going to focus on Antifa as more of a priority? Don't you guys think that's kind of disgusting? They closed the case on the Epstein stuff. They ain't touching that shit, but they're going to go after Antifa. And by the way, I don't even have confidence that they're even going to do anything successful with Antifa. I don't have any confidence in this FBI. Look at this. Dan Bongino's viewership is collapsing. This is what I was going to tell you guys. The internet hates Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino came back from the FBI just to be humiliated on the internet because everybody on the internet cares about the Epstein files. The only people that don't are boomers that barely use the internet, that don't know how to look up the Epstein files themselves on the DOJ Epstein library, and they think it's all made up. They think it's a big Democrat hoax. They think anybody that's talking about it is just trying to take down Trump. Those are the people watching Dan Bongino. The rest of us, the 95% of us, watch him to make fun of him or don't watch him at all. I'm watching secondhand clips of him to roast him. You know, there is another one that made me... What is this one? Kash Patel and Dan Bongino in their joint interview avoid the Jeffrey Epstein topic altogether and instead tell the audience that the decisions they made while working together were too difficult. They admit that most of the time the decisions they had to make required permission from the top. These are just really tough decisions. These are difficult decisions. Hold on. So if you're admitting that the decisions they had to make required permissions from the top, then they're blaming Donald Trump for covering up the files. Let's listen to this. This is insane.
Everything's a level 10 decision, Cash. A level 10 meaning there's a pardon the language, but a shitty decision and a shittier one. Because if it was if there was a good decision to be made, someone else made it. And then when those decisions, that's every day. I know you know this because I would knock on your door and you'd be like, "What now?" And I'd be like, "Here we go again." Like something else will come up. But I just want to put into perspective for folks out there, when that decision can't even be made by me, it goes to you. When it doesn't go to you, it goes like to the president's desk.
Dude, he's throwing Donald Trump under the bus. That's what I'm taking from this. I'm Dan Bongino and I can't make this decision. Kash can't make this decision, so it goes all the way to the top. Yeah, you're throwing Trump under the bus, dog.
Dealing with like level 11 decisions. And that's the thing in DC is that's why the batting average isn't always going to be 1,000. There's no good call to be made or someone else would have made it. There's just really tough decisions where, there's.
And here's why Dan Bongino is full of bullshit. Because if Joe Biden was in office right now, or if Kamala had won, right? Dan Bongino obviously wouldn't have left his show. Do you think Dan Bongino would have given the FBI a free pass on covering up the Epstein files because, it was a difficult decision and Biden had to make that decision too, and it was a level 11 decision. It was so hard. No, he would have been roasting them for covering it up. These people are professional liars. They don't give a shit about the American people. They don't care about people that were raped. There's no justice for them. Both of these men are sick and evil. I don't give a fuck about either one of them.
It's a shit call and a shittier call. And listen, that's what we signed up for. That's how it rolls.
Look, yeah, these are difficult decisions, Dan. That's why you volunteered to jump back in. It wasn't just going to be, hey, we're going to do this job. It's going to be super easy. We're not going to have to make any hard decisions. And we're not going to have to combat a press corps that has largely been biased and full of inaccurate reporting. But we made those decisions collectively in the best interest of the nation. And if we hadn't, then none of this would be true. None of this would be possible. If President Trump had made the hard decisions to allow us and give us the resources that we need and to back the blue in law enforcement and to prioritize working with state and local authorities, then we wouldn't be able to do what we.
Hold on. Working with state and local authority? Well, what the hell happened in Minnesota? Because I covered all this Minnesota-Minneapolis riots, obstructions of justice, Tim Walsh and Jacob Frey refusing to work with the federal government and inciting their citizens to basically have an insurrection. And Kash Patel's going to sit there and say, well, we got state and local police to work with us. No, you didn't even arrest Tim Walsh. You didn't even arrest Jacob Frey. You are full of shit.
Did, but you're right. We had a lot of hard decisions, and that comes with the territory of the job. But once you look outside of the cauldron of Washington, D.C., and this is one of the things that, I'm trying to remind myself of every day. Outside of here, there is a different America than the one that lives in the national capital region. And I try to remind myself every day when making those difficult decisions that you talked about, that we make on a daily basis, that we are making a decision collectively for the rest of America, not just for the minority of people that are living part-time in Washington, D.C., pulling the levers on Capitol Hill and such.
That's such horseshit. These people are a joke. Dumb and Dumber, that's what I'm saying. There's one more that made me cringe. Here's one. Dan Bongino to Kash Patel. I think you and I did a pretty good job. What? It really isn't hard when you focus on the bad guys. Hold on. I just played a clip that said, we had these difficult decisions that we couldn't make, and Donald Trump had to make these decisions for us because he's our Lord and Savior. And then now you're flipping it, saying you guys did a good job because you went after the bad guys. Why didn't you go after Prince Andrew? Because he came on American soil and raped children. So why are you letting England get the W? Why aren't you arresting Les Wexner, a co-conspirator of child sex trafficking? Oh, we focus on the bad guys. No, you don't. You protect the bad guys. Because like I said, guys, the Epstein files is the biggest scandal of all time, okay? I don't care that Antifa has been horrible for our country. As bad as Antifa is, they are not even close to being as terrible and evil as these rapist billionaires. But let's listen to the gaslighting on this one.
I think you and I did a pretty good job. But, it really isn't hard when you...
Wait, one last thing. How can you say that you did a good job when you quit, Dan Bongino? Oh, I did a pretty good job, but I decided to quit after less than a year because I wanted to hang out with my wife. Yeah, okay, dude, shut up.
You focus them on the bad guys.
Well, it's not hard, Dan, as you know, as an 1811 and a former police officer, it's not hard to do the job you signed up for if you're allowed to do the job you signed up for. And President Trump and this administration backs law enforcement and gave us the resources at this FBI and gave us the autonomy in you and I in running this building to remove the red tape, to remove the unnecessary approvals, and to get 1,000 extra agents. That's what we did, Dan. We put 1,000 agents into the field from Washington, D.C. We permanently removed them from the national capital region and sent them across to every single field office. And what did that do? It allowed people to hit the streets and investigate crimes, and it led to this. And I know you've seen this, but this is 1 year in the making of true historic reductions in crime. And you're talking about a 20% reduction in murder rate. You're talking about a 32% increase in fentanyl seizures, enough to kill 150 million Americans. Dan, you're talking about 4 top 10 arrests in 1 year, but as soon as you left, I had to add 2 more. So now we're up to 6. I couldn't let it stand at 4. So in 1 calendar year, we arrested 6 of the FBI's most wanted fugitives in the world.
You know what I'm talking about. I was busting my ass on that one, but I was like, So, but hey, good job. Once I saw it on the news, I was proud of you and the guy.
And I don't understand how these people could just laugh. Aren't they ashamed of themselves? Like, if I was associated with this FBI, I'd probably just kill myself out of shame. Because Look, those are obviously W's, right? If the FBI is arresting all these sick, most wanted people that deserve to be arrested in jail, yeah, obviously that's a W. But that's like a tiny thing compared to the Epstein files, okay? It's like, it'd be like, I always bring it back to sports, right? Like, let's just say that, oh, I was a football team and we went like 3-15. We won 3 games and we lost 15. That's our record. It's like I'm coming on TV and bragging about how great it was, how much of a success our season was when we only won 3 games. It's like bragging. It's like you lose overall. Your complete job is a failure overall, with tiny wins here and there. And you're going to come on a podcast and brag about these teensy tiny little wins when, excuse me, overall, it was a failure. That's how I see it. You know, you guys, those that support Dan Bongino, go ahead. Put your little mural of Donald Trump as God and pray to Donald Trump and pray to these guys and just suck their dicks on how great of a job they're doing with the FBI. Go ahead and do that. But me, I can't stoop to that level. If you're covering up for pedophiles, that crosses the line for me. I'm sorry. I just can't get past it. You could do a million great good things, but that one thing bothers me so much, I just can't get past it, guys. I just can't.
No, you laid it, and you gotta let you know those 6 go to you. You laid the groundwork for it. You work quietly behind the scenes. I'm just telling you. And look, I think the audience should know. I can't even memorize these. I look at these every day, and it's just hard to believe. 490% increase in those who prey upon our children. 490% increase in arrests by the FBI. The FBI under the last year, twice as many increase for violent crime from 24 to 25. Twice as many arrests. That's unbelievable, Dan. These numbers are truly historic, and that was the foundational tectonic shift you and I put into place in the FBI to let the cops go out there and be cops, and this is what happens.
And one of the things I know I've heard you emphasize, I think you and
I can only take so much of these guys. They're just so corny. What is this one? Epstein victim blackmailed everyone. He recorded every moment, including on the toilet. What is she saying on this?
Watching me go to the toilet. He's watching everything that happens in the massage room. He's watching in me in my bedroom. He's, like everything's being recorded. And that's when I realized that's how he's getting away with blackmailing everybody.
Well, according to the FBI, there's no co-conspirators. And that's the thing is, I think this man on the right, Kash Patel, he should be in jail for lying in front of Congress. Like, think about it. If I lied doing my taxes, or if I did anything like that, lied on an application, oh yeah, they'd throw someone like me in jail, someone who's just a normal citizen. But this guy lies in front of Congress. He puts his hand on the Bible. For all you Christians out there, he put his hand on the Bible and lied in front of Congress. I just can't accept that, guys. I don't care if it's on Trump's side. I'm not going to be like one of these cultists on the Republican side that will do mental gymnastics to try to defend their side. I just can't do that. I really, really just can't handle that. Let's see what else I got here. I got a couple more videos to show you guys. I have so many that I've saved, and I also want to talk about Iran. I just haven't had a chance to talk about Iran. What is this one? Congresswoman calls out U.S. in action. Our children are watching, and smaller countries are doing more than we are. Thank God for Nancy Mace, another Republican. Thank God for her. Let's listen to what she has to say.
How much control do you think Trump has over the DOJ at the moment, or the deep state, or whoever's? So as you said, we don't really know who's making those calls, what to redact, what files to release. But how much control does Trump have over the DOJ at the moment, in your opinion?
I'm not the president, so I can't speak to that or any of those conversations, but he signed this bill into law. He's the president. It wasn't Biden. It wasn't Obama. It wasn't Bush that released the files. I think that he's got some folks around him that have given him bad counsel, because if he had just said, if they had just told him, hey, all the files exonerate you, let's release them all the way 8 months ago, we wouldn't be talking about this going into the midterms. And maybe by now, 8 months later, with a high profile release of files 8 months ago, people could be seeing jail time or be indicted for participating in, I think, what's going to go down as one of the biggest global sex trafficking networks in American history. So we could be further down the road with holding people accountable, because here's the thing, the world is watching. Our children are watching. And we must show them what we're made of. And there are other countries much smaller than ours with fewer participants in this thing that are doing more to hold those accountable who were participating in the sex trafficking ring with Jeffrey Epstein. And why aren't we doing that? And then you extrapolate that and you see why the justice system is so broken in our country. I came forward over 2 years ago. No one I named, with all the evidence that I had, not a single person has been arrested. And I doubt that they will, because, you just feel like a second-class citizen. When you're a victim, you come forward, you don't get help. Nobody gets arrested because they don't want to talk about these sorts of issues. They are, and it's just, it's insane, but leadership starts at the top, and we've got to have people willing to come forward. And then when you come forward, people got to go to jail when they break the law, when they violate a child. These were 14-year-old girls. Some were 13 years old. He was trying to recruit 12-year-olds at some point. And then he was using the underage girls to recruit their friends and their classmates. And had there not been that high school fight in the high school in Palm Beach 20 years ago, there would have been no investigation over underage girls barely out of middle school fighting over going over to his house. And these girls were brainwashed. They were the poorest of the poor, the most vulnerable, living in trailer parks, that were desperate for money, in and out of juvie, runaways that had deep problems at home, parents in prison. He picked the kids who were most vulnerable, who were desperate, and he preyed upon them, and he taught them and groomed them to prey on others. And it's devastating to have over 1,000 victims and one accomplice. That's just not humanly possible.
Guys, this is the reality of it, right? Just think about a 13-year-old girl having sex with a 55-year-old man. It's so gross. That's why it infuriates me so much. It just disgusts me. Nancy Mace has been all over the place talking about this. She's also talking about how he worked with the CIA, possibly Israel. There's one more clip I wanted to show you before we wrap it up. Where did I have it? Okay, so yeah, I get it. Andrew Tate, he's retarded. Okay, Andrew Tate's so retarded. But I did like what he had to say here. I thought what he had to say here was actually very interesting. And I'm just going to end this on this Andrew Tate. And like I said, fuck Andrew Tate. But let's just listen to what he had to say, because I thought this was kind of interesting.
So Prince Andrew just got arrested. That's interesting. For his ties to Epstein. Because Prince Andrew and Epstein were best buddies. And we've had evidence of this for years. Everyone's known it for years. But of course, nothing was done. They just ignored the evidence for a very long time. But now they've taken action. They're going to arrest him, and they're going to question him and release him on bail. Interesting. When these same people who are on the Epstein list declared me a national security threat in 2022 and decided to try and destroy my influence by accusing me of sex trafficking, they didn't have the evidence that they have on Prince Andrew. They had no evidence against me. And not only was I arrested, I was put in jail for 4 months. All of my assets were seized. Every bank account, all of my cars, all of my watches, my gold, my crypto, everything was taken. I was slandered in the media endlessly and locked in my house for 4 years without trial before they eventually threw out the entire case, because there was never any evidence in the first place. So I wonder, considering that Prince Andrew has far more evidence against him than has ever existed against me, will he be in jail for 4 months? Will he be locked in his house for 4 years? Will he lose access to all of his money and cars and wealth? No. You know what's going to happen? Guys, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. He's going to be arrested. He's going to be bailed. The news cycle's going to move on. And nothing's going to fucking happen. Nothing ever fucking happens to these people. Hugh Edwards was the guy on the BBC shouting and screaming about how I am a dangerous person and that I traffic women. And then Hugh Edwards himself, the BBC presenter, gets convicted of sexual crimes because he is a pedophile. He, the pedophile, was saying I was the bad guy. You literally couldn't make this up. And he was convicted of sexual crimes. Did he go to jail? Nope. Released. No jail for him. Just a fine. But I went to jail. All these elites don't buy into this show trial, show bullshit. They know that we know too much, so now they're going to sit and pretend that justice exists for the people at the top. These fuckers don't face justice ever. Keep an eye on this Prince Andrew crap and watch nothing happen. Nothing ever happens to these scumbags. And it's going to stay the same as long as your stupid ass keeps paying them taxes. If you keep giving them money and you don't sit there and even think, you know what? I am funding pedophilia. It is my moral duty to not pay taxes to these people anymore. If you're going to sit there like a fucking cuck, like a fucking coward, and go, oh, I don't want to get a fine from HMRC, then they're going to continue to fuck little kids on your dime, and you are complicit. You've now reached the point in these Western democratic societies, we've now reached the point of absolute degradation where if you are doing as they tell you to do, you're not just stupid. You're actually immoral and complicit. You are aiding pedophilia. You are aiding the damage that is happening to young kids all around the world. You are aiding a weaponized state, which will come against the people who highlight the truth. You're aiding lawfare against people like me who do nothing wrong purely because we point out what they do wrong. It is your moral obligation to resist paying for this bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not advocating you guys just stop paying your taxes. Like, obviously, don't listen to that part because I think you should still pay your taxes. But the hypocrisy is real. I mean, the effort to which that these government agencies pick and choose who to go after. Like, say what you want about Andrew Tate, but his crimes that he was accused of aren't even close to what's going on in these Epstein files, guys. Just pay attention to who these powerful governments and billionaires, who they try to target. But hope to God this guy goes to jail for life, and I hope to God eventually more and more people get arrested. Unfortunately, here in the United States, our government doesn't care. But surprisingly in England, maybe something will come out of this. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hit the bell on my YouTube at Townsley R. And follow me on X at Ryan Townsley. And this is Townsley R signing out. Bye-bye.